Coming up on Newsnight, we talk with Akron Mayor Don Plusquellic. We talk about some election issues, contract negotiations, and we talk about the recent sale of the Akron Aeros. That's next on Newsnight. Good evening. This is Newsnight for October 19th, 2012. I'm Jody Miller, and I'm glad you could join us. You know, the format for our program this season has changed because we're going directly to the newsmakers behind the news, the newsmakers making the news. And unarguably, the newsmaker in the greater Akron area for at least the past 25 years has been the longstanding mayor of Akron, Don Plusquellic. And if I read correctly on his website, he is now in his fifth decade. You have a fifth decade span of public service. So
somebody else must have put that on there. Doesn't sound like a good thing to me. But.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Sure, Jody.
There are a couple of things we want to cover. There's some news that's been in the newspaper recently, and I wanted to talk with you about a couple of items. And I'd like to start with contract negotiations. On past Newsnight programs, we have talked about the somewhat less than amicable relationship between the city and its four employee unions. But this year was different because in June, if I read correctly, the four presidents, the four leaders of the unions, approached the city with a different kind of an opportunity for negotiations. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I would look back over the 25 years and say that I think I've had 54 or 55 union presidents, and I would do a handshake deal with about 48 of them. And I would argue that at least 48, maybe more, would do a handshake deal with me. So I think we've had good labor relations over the years. The problem is when you have a bad union president, and there haven't been that many, but when you have one, it's impossible to do anything with. And there's other examples here in the community. But given the last 3 years of difficult economic times, there's been union problems, there's been labor unrest in virtually every city of the country, and their tune is always the same. The mayor has the money, he won't give me the money, even though mayors have had to do things like lay off police and firefighters, the worst thing that any mayor could do. And I've had to do that because of the predicament that we've been in with cut back federal funds, cut back state funds, and then the budget restraints that we have because of the economic downturn. So we lived through that, we survived. We're trying to make things work with 1,720 people today, whereas as I joke around with my good friend, the last Republican who sat in my chair, they had 3,400 people working for the city of Akron, while we have 1,720. So it's been difficult trying to do all the things we need to do given the budget constraints, but we were approached sort of indirectly and with an offer to take and I don't really want to talk all the detail, but to take something that they would just take it and then we would leave each other alone for 3 years. And I said, it doesn't sound like that bad of a deal, and if I was a great politician, I would take your offer, but I can't give money that I don't have. And it's not fair to the taxpayers in this time where we have so few employees, including police and fire, to give money away that we don't have and then have to lay off more people. But I will sit down. So I sat personally with them. I laid out to them what my one condition, which is we form a committee to look at health care, because those costs, no one benefits when those costs go up. Taxpayers, employees, and they all agreed on that first day. And then I said, I want to look at something that's tied, that's connected to our income. And we tied this deal to the income tax collections, and I would hope that every employee now realizes that, hey, we want to keep people in Akron. We want to help businesses stay here. If a small business person, as happened to me when I was a ward councilman in Kenmore, small pizza shop owner was broken into. And we literally had a police officer, and they've done it recently, say to the business owner, you know, this isn't a safe neighborhood. You might want to get out. Well, when everyone leaves the city because they don't feel comfortable that people care about them, who's going to pay their salaries? And I've made this argument forever. I hope now the employees realize we're all in this together. And the more we can benefit each other by helping those business people, helping residents who have a problem, say, we were going to do everything, stay here, we'll make this community safe, that will help all of us, including in their paychecks every week.
Because part of the union negotiations was a kind of out-of-the-box thinking in terms of a bonus plan, correct?
Well, and it was my idea to tie theirs directly to our income tax collections. They did not feel comfortable, and you know, when you start something new, sometimes you have to ease in. So I compromised and said I want it all tied to that, but here's what we'll do. And our numbers look pretty good. It was a little over 2% when we did this. Now they're back to about even. So we hope this year we get at least 2%, because then it'll be a break even with the employees in January. But they'll get 2%, and then each of the next 2 years they'll get 1% guaranteed. And then anything over that, paid on their hours worked, will be the increase that we get over 1% in income tax. So it is directly tied, and it's kind of a way of easing in. They're guaranteed 1 in the last 2, the second and third year. But then anything over is paid somewhat like a bonus, depending on how much income tax we receive.
Is there any other city that does this?
Not that I know of. And it's another creative, innovative thing that I've come up with, even in my old age of 50 decades of serving the city.
Five.
What did I say, 50?
You said 50,
Well,
yeah.
5 decades, yeah. 50 decades would be a little while. But I feel like we continue to come up with new ideas and try to be creative, and this is just another one that I think is fair to the taxpayers and fair to the employees, and it's hard to say that sometimes.
Well, I do want to ask, because I was very gratified to read about the negotiations that went on with you, and in particular with Paul Helinski, because after the news came out about the tentative agreements, the two of you had some pretty nice things to say about the way the negotiations went. And I have to commend you and Paul both, because I think both of you are very passionate about your respective constituencies, and you've done something good for the city.
Well, consistently I've represented the citizens of Akron, and that's not easy in a union situation where they don't seemingly care about the outcome. And I'll tell you one, and I never talked about it for years, but I have to bring it up. And I've won this argument even with mothers of police officers and others. And that is, when we have grievances and things filed and we are prevented from having undercover narcotics officers on duty after 4 o'clock, because after all, everyone wants to work day shift, and we lose those, that's not protecting the citizens of Akron. And once I start speaking out, people have started to realize, hey, he might actually be just fighting for us. When I fought to keep people living here who we pay, the city employees were mad. But I was sticking up for the residents. And even in Ellet, where they were critical of me over the years because their buddy was a cop or firefighter and their kids played, they're now saying, hey, wait a minute. Those guys are moving out of the city. We pay their salary. I said, yeah. Remember when I was fighting that battle? So I think there were battles that I had to fight because it was for the citizens of Akron. I didn't get paid anymore. I didn't get a bonus for fighting those. I just knew that was part of my job. But I said to all 4 of these union presidents, it is not about them. It's not being personal. It's fighting for what's right for the citizens of Akron, and I didn't care about them, meaning I don't care if they're president or not. That's not the important thing. Let's get to a deal that is fair to the citizens of Akron who pay the salaries, right, and then fair for the employees, and I think we reached that. But I made it clear, this isn't about them. This isn't me trying to gain some political advantage by having peace. And I told people at the union reverse raffle, I said, I'm the same person I've been for 25 years. The fact that somebody just kept chirping and banging on me, the fact is that I was still willing to go into that meeting room alone with them and hack that out, because that's what the citizens expect of me, and that's what I've always done.
Well, and thank you, because it's really nice to have this done, because it's 3-year agreements, so at least we can move on at this point. What I want to do is remind our viewers that on NewsNite.net, you can also go to there and you can hear our extended discussions as well as view past programs. That's NewsNite.net.
For more NewsNite content, including extended discussions, full interviews, and the chance to speak your mind about the issues, join us online at NewsNite.net.
Mayor, what I'd like to do is turn our discussion to 2 election issues in particular that affect the citizens of Akron. One is issue 3, And then I want to talk about the school levy issue, which is issue 61. So issue 3 is, in fact, the charter amendment that would extend the terms of office for ward council members from 2 years to 4 years, eliminating an election in that off year, and then tying salary payments to the administration and to council members to statistics with the Labor Department. This is an issue that has been raised before. Why bring it back now at this point?
Well, because quite frankly, we're looking at everything we can to save money. We merged a very, very, very successful, highly rated and ranked health department and merged with the county because we could save money. It wasn't because they were bad employees, we had problems. It was just we saw the duplication that existed. We merged the building department. We merged weights and measures. We're looking at doing fleet maintenance at our maintenance facility. We do it for the University of Akron. We're looking at more county vehicles. We're looking, and we should always, and we have been, and I can't go back, I can't fail to go back and say 1,720 employees now. We used to have 3,400. We're forced to do everything we can to save money, and we've been doing that. This is an issue that saves election costs. No matter what anyone says, whether $50,000 a year is important to anyone, and it's funny how some people, switch like the wind, that it isn't important.
Well, but because it's only what, $150,000 to $200,000 per election.
About $200,000 every 4 years, so $50,000 a year. But the other thing is, and I win this one every time when I go out and say, let me show of hands, how would you like to have a full year without partisan political campaign ads on TV? Man, the hands shoot up, because we would be eliminating a partisan election for council races every 4 years that we now have. And as I said, if you look statistically, in the last 14 to 16 years, more than half of those races have been unopposed. But we still have to pay when there's a person's name on the ballot. We still have to pay for that. So if you look at ward races, and yes, they're contested races sometimes. Yes, people have a right and an obligation to give them the opportunity to have choices in election. But county councils on 4-year terms. School board members, 4-year terms. City council in Cleveland, city council in Columbus, a whole host of people have gone to total 4-year terms, and it makes sense.
But there's the thought that a ward councilman, in order to be very responsive to their constituency, they have to be elected every 2 years, and that keeps them responsive.
Well, there's a lot of things we used to think. People used to think if you bled people, they would get the bad stuff out and they would heal, and we got over things like that. Now, that's an extreme example of things we used to think that we don't think. The world is flat. We used to think that. There's a lot of things that you have to look at and challenge yourself. And I would argue that if only 2-year terms keeps people accountable, then everybody ought to go to 2-year terms. I mean, you can't have an argument that only one are school board members important people in this community that have tough decisions to make? Absolutely. We have council at large. We have the mayor. We have county executive. We have the sheriff is on 4-year terms. Do you mean that the sheriff isn't held accountable by newspaper reporters and news reporters because they have a 4-year term? It's so ridiculous to have 90% of people on 4-year terms and just say, oh, the only ones we care about are the 2-year terms, our council. I mean, it's really, it's almost hypocritical, especially for 2 people who voted against this, who are on 4-year terms, one of whom voted for 4-year terms when he was a councilman and now votes against it. And so I don't like hypocrites, But
that's what the opponents are saying, is that this is politically motivated to eliminate the possibility that somebody can run for office from a safe seat.
Where is that in the constitutional discussions by these bright people that set up that, hey, we ought to have a safe seat and then run for another seat? There is nothing at all in this that says that anyone who meets a year requirement of residency and is over 18 can't run for mayor. I gave up a seat as a ward councilman to run for at large. I didn't have 1 foot in and 1 foot over here. I didn't run from a safe seat to become mayor. It is such a ridiculous argument, especially for reporters and editorial writers, to buy into that somebody has to have a safe seat. That's one of the problems in our state government. That's one of the problems where somebody is constantly trying to run from a safe seat and look down the road. That's what term limits got us. People serve 2 terms and they start looking at their next job. I think that anyone who's committed enough to run and be mayor should be committed enough to say, I feel like I can do this job and I'm the one person that needs to be elected, and you give up. The other alternative to go 4 terms was to put all 10 councilmen and the 3 at large on offsetting years with the mayor, which mean a ward councilman could run 1 year and win, and then run for mayor from a safe seat, and we'd have 6 people running every 4 years for mayor, and I don't think that's a good system. So the alternative was to have everyone run. Now let me, if I can, make one other argument that people make. Oh my God, there'll be too many people that could turn over in a year in this every 4-year election, because my God, all 14 leaders, if you set judges aside as a third branch, there's 14 leaders, there's 13 councilmen, 10 and 3, and the mayor. Well, 13 of them are up right now and could all turn over. So the majority of government could now turn over as it exists. Having everybody elected at the same time and then do your job, so you can't work for 2 years and then blame somebody else because jobs didn't get done, the crime rates, whatever. Everybody is elected at the same time, and there's a lot of systems around the world that operate that way.
What's your prediction? Do you think it'll pass?
I don't know. I mean, we're just telling people what we believe. It isn't as important as the school issue, which I know you want to get into.
We do want to get into.
It's vitally important that people understand that this is for our kids, and if they're mad at somebody like a state government official who hasn't changed the state system of funding, and it's still on property tax after more than 15 years after the Supreme Court decision, then please be mad at those state officials. Take it out on the people responsible. But when you vote no on this levy, you're voting against the kids, and that's the important message here. I hope people understand how important this is. And issue 3, I think, is a proposal that we made to save $200,000, get everybody elected at the same time, and put a limit, by the way, on raises for council and the mayor, because it's been in that section of the charter since before 1921. But issue 61 and issue 73, the issue that deals with children's services and the children here who are abused, those 2 issues are vitally important for us.
The school levy. I know you've been a champion of schools, your entire administration. Why is that so important to the city?
Well, because the base education that people depend on in a neighborhood is dependent on having the resources to be able to keep good, qualified teachers, because after all, except for the safety of the school building, the next thing about education is that teacher in that classroom. And you know, years ago, we had somebody do a little study, and it was reported that if you compared Rochester and Minneapolis and somewhere else, that our teachers were paid high, but that's not the market. And our teachers come in the middle of the pack in Summit County, and that's really our market. And I've used this argument. If I know that I have a friend who's a teacher, he and his wife are both teachers, and they live here in Akron, they have kids here, and they get an offer to go to Hudson where they pay $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 more a year, and I know my friend has 3 kids, what do I tell them? I know what I want to tell them. Stay here. Our kids need it better. They need better teachers than Hudson, because those kids have a pretty good preparation in their homes. And our kids sometimes miss that because they're born into homes without the best parents. That's not their fault. You're needed here. But how do I make that argument to a friend if they can make more money? So we need to keep good teachers here. Our kids need them more so than anybody else in the county. I wish everybody had the best teachers. But when you start adding the mix of additional money that some communities offer, we need to be competitive and pay a fair amount to our teachers and keep them in the classroom and keep enough of them so our classrooms are small enough that they can actually teach. You start piling 40 kids in a classroom, it's impossible for anyone to teach.
So the levy is crucial.
It's vital. And, you know, we don't want to get into a situation where we're trying to recruit. We have an excellent record of recruiting companies here and keeping companies, but the state takes over our schools. That's not a good reputation to have. That happens to the north. It happens to other cities. It shouldn't happen to Akron, Ohio, where we value education. We started in Akron in 1847. And by the way, for those smart alecks out there, I was not mayor back then. But we started the public school system as we know it all around the country. We need to keep that strong record of supporting schools.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to remind all of you again, newsnight.net, where you can see past programs and go and listen on our extended discussions. Newsnight.net.
On newsnight.net, we cover a broader range of topics than we can on the air in 27 minutes. Be part of the conversation on our Facebook page and at newsnight.net.
Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about something fun, and that would be the recent sale of the Akron Aeros franchise to Ken Babby. What does this mean to the city and to the team?
Well, I think he's going to bring a new level of excitement. You know, minor league baseball, and I didn't think about this probably early on when we first brought them here. I knew the excitement about bringing people downtown. I used to joke there was really no good reason to come downtown for a while. Arguing about a traffic ticket or your water bill was not a good idea that put in someone's head as to, hey, I'm going to go to downtown Akron. Now you see just huge amounts of young people, families, people coming down here, enjoying the restaurants, the nightlife, and it really started with the stadium. But he's going to bring a new level of excitement to a business that someone described recently. It's one of the few businesses in the world that the owner doesn't control the quality of the product. And you think about it. The Indians decide who to bring up, who to send down, back and forth. One of the things that's consistent is the stadium and the activity centers that are in the stadium, and you bring young people down, like two kids. I have grandchildren, I have 6 of them, but if I brought my 5- and 3-year-old, how do I tell them, you sit there in that chair and you sit there, we're going to watch a baseball game? In many stadiums, we saw this in Pennsylvania and Allentown, they have an outfield with this grass hillside. So you bring a blanket and the kids can move around a little bit. You can walk around, there's a variety of restaurants, there's just a lot of activities. There's seating. I said if 4 people go to a game, 2 couples, the 2 people on the outside sitting in straight seats can't talk to each other. The 2 people on the inside. They have in Allentown more seating that has like picnic areas where you would sit around in a round table and you could actually talk, because baseball and football, both of them, have intermittent activities. You know, between pitches you're talking and then you look and you see a pitch, you see a hit. I think we need to improve, and we know that we have the basics of a great stadium. We built that in intentionally years ago. But there are many other things that people are doing, and we're going to capture those, and Babby understands that he has to pay for many of those improvements. Now, he's really, I have to make this joke, he's really into big scoreboards, so he's going to have a bigger scoreboard. You know, everybody's got to have the biggest scoreboard, so he's going to spend money building a bigger scoreboard, whatever that means. But there's other activity centers, and by the way, the fans love scoreboards.
Exactly.
But the activity centers, we think, will be wonderful additions to the stadium.
Well, and he's just recently signed a 25-year lease, so that means the team is going to stay here, correct?
That was very important to us, yes, and he's committed for 25 with a 5-year option. So,
explain a little bit more to our viewers just what that stadium means to the economic development of downtown and how key a part that Canal Park is and the Aeros.
Well, you try to generate people, and I don't care if you're a mall owner, whatever it is, a shopping center, you try to attract people, and it is an attraction. It's an anchor that brings people. And then, as Mary Means, the downtown consultant that the chamber actually brought in years ago, she said in downtowns, like pinballs, you rack up points by having people walk to different places, bounce around, and they go to a restaurant, go to another restaurant, go to the game, they stop afterwards, get a hamburger. And those activity centers, those anchors that bring people in, other people in between get to make money, and the city benefits by this flow. Because we brought the stadium in and made other investments, and this is vitally important, it's not just for downtown as an abstract term. We started out with 1,500 employees, and people were leaving, businesses were leaving. We now have, by the chamber statistics, over 30,000 people working downtown. And the incremental difference in income tax pays the equivalent of an extra 120 police officers that we couldn't otherwise afford. That's the increment. That's not all of downtown. That's the incremental growth in downtown income tax over and above what if it had stayed static or consistent. And so we know that there's a benefit in having people downtown. It gives a sense of security. There's restaurants for people to eat, and they want to then work here, and that's the benefit to the citizens of Akron. It is very much a business proposition, even though we have Lock 3 and the stadium and fun things that people come down to. The idea of building a downtown that is an activity center for people to be entertained and come down and enjoy eateries really helps the business side of this to bring people down, employers that bring jobs here.
It's an exciting time.
Well, I think we've accomplished this summer 2 major things with the new owner and the completion of that contract, and then, as we talked earlier, the labor contract. So in spite of the fact I had 2 operations, I got off the operating table half hour later to go see the president. I think we've done a lot of things this summer, and I'm proud of our team and all we've been able to accomplish.
We've got only about a minute left, and I do want to address the fact that you're going to lose your chief of staff. Dave Lieberth is going to be retiring in about 6 weeks. What has he meant to your administration in the city? Well,
first of all, you may not know this, but he was a reporter covering City Hall when I first walked in.
He used to be on WHLO when I was a teenager.
Well, that's a good
Let's
point.
Not go there, yeah.
You were probably a teenager the way back then, but 39 years ago I walked in City Hall. He was the news director, a news reporter. We both sort of had a mutual respect. Over the years, he's helped me in many ways to write early years of speeches, State of the Union, State of the City speech. He's been a wonderful asset in so many ways. He's so bright. He sees a lot of different things, and one of the things I mentioned, Lock 3, and how important it is to downtown, the vitality of downtown. I asked him, and he wanted to do that, to focus on downtown, and he's really the only real reason that Lock 3 has taken off, and we have all those activities on Friday and Saturday night. And, you know, I don't begrudge people who want to spend some time and enjoy themselves. I hate to lose him, and we're going to have to make some changes and move some people around and do some things, but he has been a real friend and advocate. He argues with me. We're different in many ways. You know, I joked around. He knows where he's going on vacation in 3 weeks, and I don't know what I'm doing in 3 hours from now because my schedule changes so much. But we complement each other, and so he's been a wonderful person that many people have depended on, and we're going to miss him. Yeah, he will be missed. But, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your time, for being our newsmaker tonight, and we'll do this again sometime, I hope. All right, thanks. And thank you for joining us on Newsnight. Join us again next week. Good night.